Hey man, what is up, y'all boys? It's been a minute, a really long minute at that, but I know that's saying, man. Sometimes in life you just need a break from everything, but as long as you get back to the guy, and that's all that matters. Facts. I don't even know who said that, but shout out whoever said that. But nonetheless, we're here for the chapter review, chapter 1023. As I was titled Two Peas in a Pod, and I ain't gonna lie, this shit was a banger. It's a banger. I wouldn't say the best chapter in Wano, but because I don't know how you top 1010, but this shit was definitely a banger. Let's get into it. Starting off the cover request page, and this week's cover request page is by Ari. It's titled Kaoru gets jealous of Flock of Sparrows, sing with Vivi. Wait, Vivi? Yo, bro, when the chapter dropped, I just dived straight into it, so I ain't even really look at the cover request page until now. But now that I see it, it do kind of look at Vivi. But y'all know how Oda like his host, man. They all got the same build, but this cover request page ain't nothing special. Just a thick bitch playing with some birds. But to be honest with you, I liked it better when we had the, the story cover request page, like the one with Beige in them. But we can't be too picky with these. Hey man, into the chapter we go, and this chapter starts off with Zoro and Sanji standing side by side. You know, I like this by Oda because, like, let's go back to it real quick. 2-3 months ago when Zoro was on the rooftop, fighting Big Mom and Kaido with the rest of the, the supernova on the rooftop, it was getting kind of out of control because I was just hearing so many things. Zoro is stronger than Shanks. Zoro might be stronger than Mihawk right now. What's the difference in how far their powers are apart? Like, Zoro is stronger than Blackbeard. Like, it was just getting so out of control. I'm like, yo, y'all wildin'. Like, I get it. Zoro's doing some crazy things up there, like, dodging Big Mom and Kaido's attacks, hella other shit, but it was like he's not at that level yet. And for Oda to bring him back to this level versus King and Queen, and him teaming up with Sanji, just like Oda's way of shutting up the power skills. Like, all right, Zoro did some shit, but he's not at that level yet. But to me, like, deep down, I know this is not the last stop for Zoro and Wano. Zoro is gonna find his way back to the rooftop, and he's gonna find, not to the rooftop, I don't know where the battle is gonna move, but he's gonna find his way back to Kaido and back to Luffy and back, to where the main action is, because it just doesn't really make sense for Zoro to do all that he did and for him to finish off Wano like this. Like, oh yeah, Zoro beats King and Queen with Sanji, then boom, he's done after. But it still really doesn't make sense for Zoro to even have enough. Like, we see right here in this chapter, right? Chopper is basically saying, oh yeah, the medicine really did work on him, and the other doctor was saying, I forgot his name. But the GOAT doctor is saying I don't know what's gonna happen to him afterwards. I'm worried about what's gonna happen to him afterwards, right? So this is basically a time-based medicine, and it's basically just waiting for a matter of any time for Zoro to collapse. Right now, Zoro's at full energy, but how does Zoro have enough energy to deal with King, and then somehow find his way back to Kaido? Like, it doesn't make sense for him to just stop after he fights Queen, but it still doesn't make sense for him to find his way back to Kaido given the condition that he's in. But it really all just depends on the medicine that he was given and how long it would really last him. Because look, here's my thing with this, right? If Zoro's story in Wano ends with him beating King and him having no energy to fight anybody else, him being depleted, I'm okay with that. But as long as we have another swordsman up at the rooftop or wherever the battle moves to with Luffy, because as hellbent as Luffy is, being Kaido 1v1, it's not going to happen until the scar that Oden left on Kaido is reopened. And if Zoro's not available to do that, then we have Momonosuke. Now that Momonosuke has the potential, now that Momonosuke is grown, he's no longer a little boy. He wields one of his father's swords, Habakari. But at the same time, the question that comes to my head is, does Momonosuke even have the skill level to, open up that scar that Oden left? Because he has the sword, he has he has the age and all that. Now he's not a little boy no more, and there is a lot of tension built up between him and Kaido. Back when Kaido had told him, it's a shame you don't even deserve to be called the son of Odin, right? And Momonosuke wasn't able to do nothing back there. Now he can do something. Now he's not a little boy, he could do something. But it's like, does he even have the skill level to do that right now? Another scenario I can see is Momonosuke after handling, Onagashima, after he brings Onagashima lands or wherever else besides Wano capital, him and Zoro at the rooftop, and Zoro doesn't have enough energy left to reopen the scar on his own. So what they do is they do a combination attack using Odin's swords, right? Going into the X formation, and they reopen Kaido's scar like that. And after that, Kaido knocks out Zoro fully, and then Kaido, this is Momonosuke's first ever fight. I don't know what it's going to take to knock out Momonosuke, but he knocks out Momonosuke after that, and boom, now all we have left is Luffy versus Kaido. This is where we get the real 1v1. The scar has been reopened. Down to the chapter we go, and we have Old Man Hyo telling the rest of the Izuku bosses to not interfere in Zoro and Sanji's fight. They respond to him by saying, but boss, they're up against the All-Stars, they're up against Queen and King. It's only natural that we feel that we have to help them. and he lets them know that just look at the expression on their faces. They don't need our help. The best thing we could do is stay out of this fight and handle the other fodder. King and Queen are finally up from the previous attack they took from Zoro and Sanji towards the end of the last chapter. And King and Queen basically says to them, if you want to take us down, you're gonna have to do way more than that. You gotta put your backs into it. That didn't even hurt one bit. The drought, the plague, and the wildfire, the three of us are Kaido Sun's calamities. Our unstoppable toughness is why they call us the All-Stars. See, yo, here's my thing with this, right? The way Kaido's army structure coming into Wano, the hype around Kaido's army was just like, incredible. Like, he has the Flying Six, he has Jack, King, Queen, then he has, then Kaido himself. When we were coming into Wano, we were thinking, how are they going to take all of them down? Like, it almost seemed like it was Mission Impossible. But then once we got to the fight and once we got to the action with the Toppiropo thing, last chapter, we saw them all, the three of them, they were all officially announced defeated. We had saw last chapter, Black Maria, Who's Who, and Sasuke were all currently knocked out, but they were still in their zone form. So I went back and watched the Kaku versus Zoro fight, and when Kaku was beat, he had went back to his regular form. And the thing with that is, it's either Oda's throwing us a huge pump fake by making us, look as if the Toppiropo have been defeated, because the zone have, the reputation of, being hard, being mighty, being brute. So far, they didn't live up to the expectation of the zone users. They haven't lived up to it. They were taken out relatively, quite easily. And I don't want to use that as like a way to knock, like discount Jinbei, Black Maria's, Jinbei and Robin's wins versus against them, and Frankie, but they didn't live up to the hype. The Flying Six just didn't live up to the hype. And I went back and I counted the chapters of Zoro versus Kaku. Zoro and Kaku started fighting at chapter 400. Their battle ended at chapter 417, and it took Zoro having to use Ashura to defeat Kaku. That's how tough he was. When Kaku went into his transformation, I got that feeling like, yo, this guy's gonna be a problem. He's a menace. But when it came to the, the Toppiropo's transformations and they went into their hybrid form, it was kind of more so of like a blood, like that kind of feeling. Like, I wasn't that impressed, and I didn't really get that feeling. Like, I wasn't worried one bit about them because I knew that they were going to go out relatively easy, and the fact that they did was really underwhelming to me and a lot of the other readers. And the thing with King and Queen is, so far, if we're going to keep it a buck, if we're going to be honest, they haven't done much neither. They were supposed to stop Zoro from going up to the rooftop. They didn't do that. Back in chapter 1007, and I think all the way up until 1010 or 11, Queen and Chopper went at it, right? So you're telling me one of Kaido's top 2, top 3 fighters wasn't able to knock out a lower ranked Straw Hat in terms of combat? Alright? Like, yo, why is Chopper still conscious? If Queen and King are the hype that, if they've been built up to be, they should be able to take down people like Chopper. But it just really didn't go that way so far. All they've done is beat on fodder. All Queen has done on the stage is beat on fodder, right? So either one of the two things is going to happen right here. King and Queen, they absolutely turn up. They just turn all the way up. They take down Sanji and Zoro, or they take down one of the two. And then Black Maria, Who's Who, Sasuke, they get back up and they start turning up with them. Or the other option is they just never live up to the hype. The only dubs that Kaido's army would have gotten if Zoro and Sanji take down King and Queen is Kaido himself, with the only dubs of defeating the Supernova. That would have been Kaido's army that's been so hyped up and so built up for years. The only dubs that they'll take is Kaido himself taking out the Supernova. Queen attacks Sanji and Zoro with a blast attack and they both dodge it. Zoro notices something is wrong with Sanji and he asks Sanji if he's okay. Sanji lets Zoro know that he's fine and that it's just his second time using the raised suit, but it's starting to bother him. His body's starting to feel a little bit odd. Zoro teases Sanji by saying, yeah, you do have weird eyebrows. See, yo, this is what I love about One Piece, man. Some hate it, but the fact that we're able to get a little bit comic relief in the midst of a battle is enjoyable. Like, some shonen, they don't give you no laughs in their battles. It's just, straight action. And I don't have a problem with that, but I enjoy these type of, battles more. The ones where you get, a little bit of comic relief here and there. Them being off guard for that slight moment from the conversation they just had. Zoro then proceeds to, save one another from both King and Queen's attacks. But this is where the conversation gets interesting, right? The dialogue right here between Queen and Sanji. Queen mentions how he remembers all of Smoke Judge's kids being enhanced, and that's how Sanji is able to create fire from his legs and throughout his body. In which Sanji replies to him, "Hate to break it to you, but I'm a regular human being, unlike my siblings. It's my burning passion that allows me to be able to burst into flames." Queen then replies to him saying, "Are you stupid?" He says, "Are you stupid? No regular human is able to burst into flames. It's not like you're a Lunarian." And this so happens to catch King's attention to the point where he gives Zoro a slight moment to attack him while he's not focused. And Zoro tells him to stay focused, you black mummy. Yo. Nah, oh, the funny, yo. My opinion on Sanji's source of power being some sort of augmentation is that, personally, I don't like it. I prefer that Sanji's source of power is, his rage and passion like he says it is. But what Queen is saying is almost undoubtable because, let's face the facts here, regular humans just don't burst into flames due to their passion. If that was the case, we would have seen a bunch of other people being able to do that because I'm pretty certain Sanji's not the only passionate person in the world. But if that's the case, the question comes into play, does Sanji's augmentation have some sort of, downplay on his mother's sacrifice? To me, it doesn't, because his mother Sora only took the medicine for her children to be able to, keep their feelings and emotions. And that was the only thing that really mattered to her. She didn't care if they had some sort of enhancement after that. And Sanji, Sanji's living proof that her risk was worth the payout. So I don't think that has any, any type of downplay on his mother's, sacrifice. But the thing with Sanji's body starting to feel different is I believe the Rage Suit is activating Sanji's lineage factor, which was placed in him by his father, and which is related to, why he's been able to create fire this whole time. I think that once, the Rage Suit fully activates Sanji's body, I think he's going to have a major power boost, and I think he's also going to have way more control and be able to do things that we didn't think he would have been able to do before. And that's not an ass pull neither. That's not an ass pull from Oda, because that, for it to be an ass pull, it would just have to be some random new thing. But we've been known for a long time now, Sanji's father, he plays with medicine, he plays with not medicine, but he plays with experimenting, all types of stuff. And it wouldn't be a crazy thought to Sanji this whole time had some sort of augmentation. It wouldn't be, because it makes more sense than Sanji being able to randomly create fire from his body. That's a better explanation than that. As much as it took Zoro by surprise that King isn't a real swordsman, that shit took me by surprise too, because King wielded that sword and carried it around everywhere with him like he was an actual swordsman. He took it everywhere with him, right? So for him to actually say that I'm willing to do whatever it has to take to win, even if it means throwing away my sword, that I'm willing to do that. That was actually surprising, and I can see why it took Zoro by surprise, because King basically saying, I'm gonna do what I gotta do to win this battle. And that's the difference between me and you. You're not willing to do what you gotta do, right? And Zoro rebuttals by saying, he says, have it your way. If you want to play dirty, we can play dirty, we can do that. But just know that you're totally you're completely wrong. You're completely wrong on that. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, even if it means I gotta bite through your throat. I can't afford to lose here. Oh my god, yo, y'all know whenever Zoro says that, he's about to turn up. But the thing with King is that he just looks so unfazed, man. Like, he's not even in his hybrid form yet. I don't know how long this medicine is gonna last on Zoro. Like, to be honest with you guys, I don't know how Zoro's gonna beat this guy. This guy just looks completely I haven't seen. He's giving me Kizaru vibes. Like, he's never unfazed. He's not worried. Like, he knows for sure they're gonna win this. I don't know what it is with him. And the thing with King Su I want to point out is, what if, the reason King wears that suit of metal is because his body is on flames the whole time, right? His body is constantly always on fire. His race doesn't just burst into flames. They're always on fire. What do you guys think about that? Now with the Lunarian thing, if that's King's true race, I believe that King's race originated from the moon, and they descended down onto the top of the Red Line, bringing with them one of the ancient weapons, right? And let's say during the Void Century, let's get hypothetical real quick. What if the Celestial Dragons forcefully got rid of the gods, being King's race in this matter, off the top of the Red Line, and they took their ancient weapon from them, forcing King's race to move back to wherever they originated from? And that's how there's an ancient weapon in Marie-Joie, like Doflamingo says there was, and that's the reason why the Celestial Dragons call themselves God. That's just a little, what if theory in my head. Another possible connection is, Nika the sun god that was mentioned in chapter 1018. You can see in his silhouette his hair almost looks as if it's bursting into flames, and King's race has been mentioned by Marco in this chapter as people that burst into flames. Now, what if King's race wasn't from the moon instead, but a planet near the sun? There isn't enough, to actually connect them right there, but that's another what if possibility. But my main point with King is that now that we know King's body won't be revealed in the story and it will be revealed through Viva Card instead, that indicates to me that he might have major post-Wano significance. The same for Izo and Marco. Their bodies were never revealed through the manga. They've had major impact on the story beyond Marineford, and now the same could be, implied to King.
it's not even implied. I know for a fact that King is going to have major post-Wano significance that has to do with this race, and I know his race is going to be important towards the end game of, you know, basically One Piece. Now, concerning the conversation between Kawamatsu and Omen, yo, I really hope Zoro is not related to anybody in Wano. Like, I just want him to be strong because he was a hard worker and he's grinded his way to this point, not because of his, you know, lineage factor where Ryuma the sword god. It almost sounds like the chosen one type prophecy. Like, feel me? Like, Zoro's the one who brought back Shisui to Wano. Zoro's gonna be the one to potentially behead Kaido like Ryuma did to that dragon way back then, right? And this also hints at Zoro actually having some backstory gap that Oda hasn't given us yet, and quite possibly for the other Straw Hats. If Zoro is related to the bloodline of Ryuma, it will be interesting to know, because Sanji right now is currently fighting Queen, ruler of Udon, and that happens to be the name for noodles, and Sanji's chef. And Zoro right now is fighting King, who later might be revealed to be the ruler of Ringo, and that's the area which was ruled by the Shomotsuki clan, Ryuma and Oshirama and such forth. But if Zoro is truly a Shomotsuka, I hope that him and, you know, the fox, I don't know how to pronounce the fox name, but, you know, the fox that was, you know, defending all the swords of, you know, the fallen soldiers of Wano, I hope him and that fox have a reunion, and, you know, they get to finish off on a good chapter before we head off from Wano. Yo, we finally get some action between Jack and Inu, one of the more low-key, not so low-key, but one of my more personally favorite fights in Wano so far. And this, reading the dialogue between them two, it really just sounds like two people that do not like each other at all. Jack keeps questioning why Inu and them didn't sell out Raizo back then on Zou Island, and Inu responds by saying, if we sold out Raizo, we wouldn't be able to live with ourselves. It would have made it impossible for us to come back to Wano. Everything we went through since the day Oda-sama left us was to get to this point. And, you know, we go into a flashback of Inu's of back in Zou Island when he was speaking with Jack and Zack, and Jack had him tied up, and he tells him, I swear to God, I don't know this Raizo. If he's here, I'll slice open my own throat. And that's really interesting, because back then they even had me fooled. When I was first reading that, I was like, yo, there's no way that there's this guy named Raizo on this island. They don't have him. They're not hiding him. He's not on this island. And come to find out that Raizo was on the island the whole time. I was like, why, as the leaders, you know, Ino and Nekomamushi, why as the leaders would you put your people through all that just to hide this one guy right here? Right? It didn't make sense to me. And then we later got the, you know, the Oden crest revealed, and how their families had ties, how their peoples had ties, and it still didn't make sense to me back then. But once we came into Wano, everything that, you know, they were doing, the decision to hijack and the importance that Raizo plays into Wano, I finally understood it. Like, oh, okay, I get it. This is why they were so hell-bent, you know, on keeping Raizo hidden. This is why they were willing to all die just to keep Raizo hidden. Coming towards the end of this chapter, and we see both Neku and Inu are in their Sulon forms. Now, I expect both of them to win their fights, right? I especially expect Inu to win his fight. Even though he's up against Hybrid Jack, I really don't care, because you just have to get back at Jack for what he did to you and your people. He gas bombed your people, he killed your people, and he took one of your legs. He shitted on your city. He basically destroyed your city, right? Their beef is super personal. And if Neko so happens to, you know, beat Perospero before Inu beats Jack, I expect Neko to find his way into their fight, because it's personal between him and Jack also, right? And I think that them fighting alongside could mean that, you know, they finally come to peace with their grudge that they hold towards each other, and they'll be able to, you know, coincide, live with each other. They no longer would have to share, you know, day and night. They'll be able to, you know, live together as equals during the, you know, day and night. Because the last time they left Wano on bad terms. But I believe that this time when they leave Wano, they'll be able to leave Wano on good terms. Man, into the last panel of this chapter we going. This might be one of my favorite panels ever. When I saw this, so many theories and ideas started flowing in my head. Like, what is Kaido's reaction going to be to seeing a dragon flying towards him and landing on Onagashima safely away from the capital, just for that dragon to turn into a split image of the man who gave him that scar on his chest? What's going to be the reaction of the other scabbards? We can already see Shinobu crying right now, so how are the others going to react? I think that seeing Momonosuke grown and him looking just like Oden is going to give so much motivation to not just the scabbards, but to every single samurai fighting this battle. It's just basically going to be a huge momentum booster, and they need that right now. And, you know, I'm also thinking, what is going to be CP0's reaction to finding out that one of Vegapunk's fruits was this successful? Guys, what if this whole time Vegapunk knew how to perfectly duplicate devil fruits, right? But he deemed his attempts a failure to the world government, because he knew that once the world government knew that he could perfectly replicate them, they just have him do with every fruit that they wanted. Imagine a devil fruit army of users like Akainu, fruits like Okiji's fruit. That'd just be overpowered, and I think that Vegapunk knew that if he gave him the access to that kind of power, they would be unstoppable, right? And I would think that, and I think that Vegapunk truly doesn't really, he's not truly on the government side. We don't know much of his character yet, but I just have that feeling, right? That really just wouldn't be fair. army of those type of users. But seeing Momo in his dragon form, I know it feels too convenient for a lot of people. I'm hearing some call it an ass pull, but I don't care, bro. Like, this shit is gas. I fuck with it. It's fire. I love it. But what I'm mostly concerned about is, the major drawbacks on Momonosuke now that he's able to, fully and truly use his fruit powers. Is there going to be drawbacks? Because we know there's drawbacks on the smile fruit users, right? And if there isn't any drawbacks on his fruit, does that downplay the value and rarity of the original devil fruits? Hey man, but that's all I gotta say for this chapter, man. This shit was a banger. Another 10 out of 10 from Oda. He on a streak. He been on a streak for a hot minute now, for months. You could probably say a year, but that's all I gotta say for this chapter, man. I wanted to get deeper into this chapter about almost everything, but sometimes you can't get too deep. Sometimes you gotta lay back and let the speculation speculate, let the ideas float. But that's all I gotta say for this chapter, man. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Hit the like and subscribe button. Until then, I'm gonna see ya. I'm out.